What's up, y'all? Hold on, let me adjust some stuff. Was having some technical issues. Shout out to my boy Saint Pat. He was supposed to join the stream, but it's trying some new shit, and it did not work out the way I had hoped. But we gonna get it right. We gonna get some guests on here sooner than later. Uh, Speaking of guests, right? And this isn't related to my boy Pat, because Pat's always supported me. I supported him. You know, but just in general, I do get a lot of people hitting me up asking me to be on the show. Like, I get a lot of people asking, like, "Yo, man, I want to come up there. I want to talk." Like, fam, this is a two-way street. I don't charge people, or I don't like try to sell people on like, "Yo, pay this amount, you could be on the show," or whatnot. I don't do that because to me it just kind of feels like that whole pay to play thing. Like, when it comes to performers, like rappers and shit, like, they be holding events and they be trying to charge people to come and spit or whatever. I've never been a fan of that, so I wouldn't want to do something like that on my platform either. But at the very least, you should be. I should see you in the live chat, like, the for the streams, or I should see you commenting on it after the fact, you know. Or you should be following. If you're not following the Instagram page, if you're not, subscribe to the YouTube channel, you are not like commenting and sharing, the live streams, or at least like engaging. Like, I post polls all the time on Instagram, and like sometimes people will vote on them, and then sometimes people will look straight ignore them. Like, if you can't even do that to, just show some love, show some support. Like, fam, don't ask me to be on the show. Like, I ain't asking for no dollar amount. I ain't asking for nothing more than just a little bit of support. Just a like is free, a follow is free. Uh, subscribing to the channel, all that shit is free. Like, if you're not really a fan of the platform, or if you're at least not willing to show that, minimum requirement of support, don't ask me to be on the show. That's just the PSA I want to give to anybody that like sees clips and they see me post about the show and the things that I talk about. Don't hit me up asking me to be on the show if you ain't at least gonna support. That's all I'm saying. Just wanted to go ahead and get that out the way. But my boy Saint Pat, like I said, he always show love and supports things I got going on. Like, and I reciprocate the way that I should. So but we was having some technical issues. We're gonna get it straight. Now, I have rearranged my desk, and I'm still working on the webcam thing. So I don't know if I'm gonna like the angle that I'm at right now. I was rearranging some stuff. I've been trying to kind of for acoustic reasons and for like just accessibility reasons, I've been trying to spruce up the studio / live stream area / my day job office area, just to kind of like get it to be a little bit more accessible than it was before. But all right, enough bullshit and enough admin. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it. But make sure you like this live stream, or you follow me on Twitch, or you follow me on, or you subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Follow the Instagram page. All of that stuff will be in the link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube, or I'll give the ad name or whatever. It's at the 1430 podcast on Instagram. I'm not on X. I'm not on. Well, yeah, there's a Facebook page, and if you're on Facebook, then you'll also see that. So make sure you like that page. It's the same, the 1430 podcast on Facebook as well. So yeah, let's get right into it. Cause I'm gonna be real. So originally, like I said, I'd be throwing up polls. I'd be throwing posts, just trying to get like people to engage. Cause I see people watching, I just don't see people engaging. I mean, that's neither here nor there. I'm not one of those people that get really upset. Just don't ask me for shit. Don't ask me to be on the show if you're not gonna show love like that. At least, like if you just passing through, okay, cool. I ain't expecting everybody to fuck with what I got going on, but if you're trying to be on the show, like you could at least, like actually participate. But yeah. Oh, and let me know how the sounds too. I like I was talking about. I promise we gonna get into the live stream. Yo, appreciate it, Michael. Yo, this is gonna be a good one. So I know you'll definitely have a lot to say on this one. Oh, of course. Like I was talking about it earlier, that I need to work out some technical issues. I was actually gonna have my boy Pat on the show, and we were trying to get it together, but it just didn't work out. Like I could have guests on Twitch, but it'd be Twitch only. And I've heard people tell me that they've had issues with the chat on Twitch before. So I'm not I'm not strictly on Twitch. That's why I do a multi-stream on Twitch and YouTube. But with OBS, the free version, it doesn't allow me to do it. It's a roundabout way you got to do it, and I'm still trying to figure that out. That's why it was real, hazy with it. This live stream shit is still new to me, so I appreciate y'all being patient with me, but we gonna get it together. But yeah, Michael, we definitely gonna have you on the show. I appreciate it, Pat, too. Thank you to let me know the sound good. I got a new microphone. That's why I wanted to ask. I've done some tests, like recordings, but I didn't even think about it. Like I didn't know how it would sound in a live stream environment. So I'm glad it still sounds good. So, get into the topic at hand. It's been a very hotly debated thing with Drake and Joe Budden, right? Originally I was supposed to do a tier list, but nobody participated in the tier list post that I posted. And I was actually going to cancel the stream today because I just didn't have anything else planned. And then Drake's album dropped, and it feels like all hell broke loose. And it's been a lot of debate. Based on Joe Budden's comments when it comes to the album. Now, I feel like, and then one of the reasons why I wanted to talk about this is because I'm a fan of both of them. Like, I've been a big fan of Drake since 2009. I always tell people from 2005 to 2008, I always look at as like the dark ages of hip hop. Like Hove had retired, and even when he came back, the albums were pretty subpar, for his standard. And, Wayne was on a tear. Kanye was still doing, still the old Kanye. But outside of them, hip-hop was looking real bleak. It was a lot of dance, trends. It was a lot of auto-tune. The recession was kicking in, and labels were consolidating and were only prioritizing certain artists that they knew they were going to get like big money from, and then they were shutting down their more risky artists. And one of those artists during that time period was Joe Budden. He was definitely one of the artists that, like a lot of people, the joke, the memes and stuff about Pump It Up and things like that, because that was really like the only single of his, or the only song of his that people know, because it was the only one that really popped. It was the only one that had any type of real label backing behind it, right? And then, all of a sudden, like, he's talked about it before. Like, if people want to really do their research, like, his second album got shelved. He was doing mixtapes. Like, he was the Mood Music series where he was dissing Def Jam while still being signed to Def Jam because they wouldn't let him out of the contract for a long time. Like, his story was very similar to a lot of other people's, but he was very vocal. And I think because of who he was vocal against, somebody like Jay-Z, who was president of Def Jam at the time, a lot of people, and because of how revered Jay-Z is, a lot of people, if you speak against them, speak against him or speak against his wife, like, you're automatically in the wrong. You're automatically, like, everybody's automatically against you in those situations. And it was, I'm not gonna sit here and act like Joe didn't also put his foot in his mouth in a lot of cases. A lot of the antics, I feel like, contributed to people not taking him seriously as an artist too, at least from the public point of view. Like, going on Love and Hip Hop, his very public and messy relationship with Tahiri, him getting into unnecessary beefs like the one with Saigon and the one with Ransom. Well, I mean, the Ransom thing was a little bit more personal. His beef with Method Man and the Wu-Tang Clan that he really brought onto himself. It was a lot of like bullshit that you had to kind of look past, that a lot of people that were not familiar with his music couldn't really look past, because they only see you as the guy getting into all this other bullshit. They can't really see you as the artist and the talent that you are, because he is like a rapper's rapper. Like, when you really dig through his catalog, you go through the Mood Music series, there's the Halfway House mixtape, there's independent releases like Padded Room and Escape Route. Like, even his last album, I can't remember the name of it. I was about to call it Idols, but that's the name of the song at the very end. I was just listening to it not too long ago. Hold on, I'm about to look it up. Rage in the Machine, like, which was his retirement album. And it's not the best body of work, but that last song, Idols, like, to go out on, like, to say, hey, I'm done with this music shit, I'm moving on to other things. And like, somebody that really like has the real intention to retire and wants to go out like with like a literal swan song, like, there's rarely a better song like to do it. I would probably even say it's better than like Jay-Z's faux retirement song, like at the end of the Black album, like My First Song. If we're like, it's doing it on that type of scale. And I've never been shy to say that, like, during that period, Joe Budden was really like one of the only rappers that I was listening to from that period that really inspired me. That really, like, I gravitated towards his style, and there's a lot of his style that I still put in my own music. And like, during that time period, it was 05 to 08, like I said, the dark ages. And then we get out of that and we go into 09. And then that's when we hear about Drake. Like, there's other people that knew about Drake beforehand, but he really, like, I didn't learn about him, and most people didn't hear about him until So Far Gone. So Far Gone was like a breath of fresh air. Like, the gangster rap was dead, like was pretty much dead at that point. Like it got to the point where it became a parody of itself. 50 Cent maxed that shit out, and nobody wanted to hear that shit no more. Or like, not that nobody wanted to hear it no more, but people were really tired of it at that point. Like, I think at that point it got to the point where it had been oversaturated. It had been the dominant sound for hip hop so long. And like it kind of like people wanted something different. It got to the point where we don't really relate to this shit no more, unless you just really in that life. And like the vast majority of people were not. And there were a lot of like, trend hopping and things like that. Then somebody like Drake was very much a breath of fresh air. Ironically enough, him kind of taking a lot from what I enjoyed about Joe Buddens, just doing it in a different way, like the sensitive rapper. Like Joe would talk about how he was like people would call him emo, and would use it as a diss. Well, like one of the things I always said that Joe may have some resentment to Drake for this. I don't know. Always said that if he would have leaned into it instead of taking it like a dig, which it was a dig, but like, just kind of rolling with it instead of trying to push back on it so hard, I really think people would have embraced it a lot more than, maybe he didn't realize. And Drake is a prime example of that. And hindsight is 2020. You really don't know about it in the moment. So you don't know if this is something that's going to hurt you or help you until like the results of what they were. I heard that song, Drake, Pat talking about Drake and Wayne on a song called Ransom. I remember that song. I think that might have been on some kind of mixtape before So Far Gone. I know that's not on So Far Gone. I don't remember. I've heard that song before, but I can't remember where it's from. Degrassi. A Teenage Show Fiend. Yeah, I didn't really watch Degrassi. My brother who was, rest in peace, my brother Amani, like he was a big Drake fan. So he knew about Drake as an actor because he had watched Degrassi. I wasn't into it. So when I gave him the So Far Gone, mixtape after I'd heard it. And he kind of put two and two together after seeing what he looked like. So it was kind of tripped me out because I had no idea Degrassi. I had no idea who he was from Degrassi because I had only saw like little glimpses of it from my brother watching it. But yeah, like Drake, Drake leaned into the stuff that Joe, like kind of like shunned and like kind of took as a diss. So him, I always felt like there was a little bit of resentment there. But damn, my son sound like he up. But yeah, so yeah, like hearing my son crying, it kind of threw me off. Hold on one second. I will be right back. All right. I'm back. Yeah, my wife got him. Yeah, dad life, right? Dad, yeah. But damn, I lost my train of thought. All right, so let's cut all the semantics. So it's Drake, no introduction. Joe Budden, a fan of them both. So seeing them both kind of go at each other, like the way they have been, it's kind of funny because it really not even what Drake said, right? It's more of the response that I've been seeing a lot of folks have. First of all, one of my biggest pet peeves is people who feel like they are above criticism. Like, it's really annoying because in this art thing, when you make music, everybody is not going to fuck with what you do. There's gonna be a lot of like you can't please everybody. That's true in life, but especially is something as subjective as music. Like everybody's not gonna fuck with what you do. And for Drake to have the response that he has, it says two things to me. One, he's not used to having this much criticism. I think since Certified Lover Boy, like the sting of Drake's subpar releases has really started to pile on. Because if we're being completely honest, Drake has been on a decline for almost a decade now. I mean, he's still selling millions of records. He's still, he's still going to outsell everybody. He's still going to go number one with this album. He's still going to do the numbers, but critically, even with some of the staunchest Drake supporters, like one of the things that really tripped me out was that someone pointed out, like, because I'm like reading like people's responses. It's been a very like heated debate amongst the Drake supporters or Joe haters or Drake haters and whatever. It's been very it's been heavily debated. And one of the things someone put out a post, and I wish I would have saved it. He said that you really know that it's bad because Joe Budden has been one of the biggest Drake supporters, even after dissing Drake, like having their little tit for tat back in 2016. Like even after having their little tit for tat in 2016, once Joe, started, really started going hard with the podcasting and he retired, like he's always been singing Drake's praises, even in moments like, with Certified Lover Boy and, some of the other stuff that a lot of people have been very sour on. Like he's even still shown him love. Even he is like, yo, this is not good. It's bad. And it's kind of like, because, for a long time, it felt like even when it wasn't good, Drake would still get the support from the industry. He would still get support. He's obviously going to do the numbers, so he gets support from the fans. And, you would still, you would have like a very vocal minority, but they would still be the minority that would tell you how bad or how played out Drake was. But I think the conversation has really shifted to where now it's not too many people you could look to that will vouch for these albums. Like Certified Lover Boy, Honestly Nevermind, Her Loss, and now For All the Dogs. There's not really a lot of people really singing this album's praises. And a big part of it to me, yeah, like I would probably say if you're reading this, it's too late. 2015 was the album. 2015 was the album, or was the year. 2015 was the year when Drake really became untouchable to me. Like, I felt like everything before, if you're reading This Is Too Late, it felt like Drake was hungry. He had something to prove. Even if you didn't always like it. Like, Thank Me Later is a pretty subpar album, and it really has not aged that well. But I would probably say that there's still a lot to enjoy from that album because of how hungry he was. Then Take Care. Then There Was Nothing Was the Same, which I would argue is a toss up between his best albums. Like, I love Take Care for certain reasons. I love Nothing Was the Same for certain reasons. And then if you're reading This Is Too Late, where he took it into a whole nother direction, and it became a hit. It became a monster. And then from that to the the Meek Mill beef, and him doing the collab project with Future, or What a Time to Be Alive, it just kind of felt like he couldn't do no wrong. Him and Future were having like monster years in 2015. And there was still this hype around Views. But when Views came out, that was when it really started to set in that, hey, this guy may not have it all. Now, over the years, I've kind of warmed a little bit to Views, but it's still not on the same level as those previous projects. I think I was really so negative about that album because of the high bar he had set for himself with albums, the way all of his albums and projects before that. So, and then it's just kind of been on a decline ever since then. Yeah, like Thank Me Later was okay. There's a lot of joints that I still like off that album. But you can't tell me that the album has aged well. Comparatively, So Far Gone and Thank Me Later. I mean, not Thank Me Later. Take Care and Nothing Was the Same are leagues ahead. You could still put those on. Like, Nothing Was the Same came out 10 years ago. He could drop that same album. He could pluck that album out of 2013 and could have put it out in 2023. And it would fit right in. It was not only was it like a great body of work, but it felt like, this was Drake at his best to me. Like, I felt like this is everything you like about Drake, from the party singles to the darker records to the emotional records. Nothing Was the Same was the perfect amalgamation of everything you like about Drake. Like, I felt like, Take Care is also a classic. I don't know. Does Drake have a classic? I call it a classic, but I can't really even put that stamp on any of his projects. I really, really enjoy a lot of his music. I don't know if any of his albums could be considered classics, but Take Care is, neck and neck with Nothing Was the Same as far as like his best body of work. And I would, there was, I think there was just a little bit more on Nothing Was the Same than Take Care for me. That kind of just pushes it over the edge for me. But anyway, so yeah, Drake by 2016 onward, he's been on a decline, he's been on a decline. And so I was listening to For All the Dogs. Now, expectations to me were low. I just wanted an enjoyable album. Like, I kind of felt that way about Her Loss. There's not a lot that I go back to, but in the moment, it felt pretty good. Like, Drake wasn't taking himself too seriously. There was a lot of just fun joints on there. I don't like, the petty shots at Meg or the supposed shots at Meg. I was not a fan of that. But, like for the most part, I had fun with it. But honestly, never mind. And Certified Lover Boy were completely forgettable, and that's kind of how I felt about For All the Dogs. I take my son to daycare now in the morning. So right when this album dropped was when I was up getting him ready, put him in the car and to go. So I had the full drive to listen to it front to back. And I just remember my eyes glazing over at certain points. I felt like it started off strong, by track after like the Cole track, I was pretty done. I was pretty done. Wait a minute. Scorpion. Nah, Scorpion's terrible, man. I'm sorry. I feel like there's a classic album in Scorpion. There is a classic album somewhere in Scorpion. It's just too long. It's just too long. It's like if you would literally cut it in half. There's like half the album was really good. Half the album was pretty forgettable to downright terrible at times. If he would take the half that was really good, he'd probably have another album to rival the other albums. Because there's the thing about Drake. Even at his worst, there are still glimpses of what brought him to the dance. And I think that's what people are holding on to. Yeah, like Mob Ties is cool. But then you get to the second half, there's a lot of trash on that. There's a lot of trash on that. And that's kind of how I felt about For All the Dogs. But I feel like this one's even worse. Because I probably walked away, and I listened to it again, right, to prepare for the stream. But I probably walked away enjoying. I probably walked away enjoying 4 of the songs, but the second time around, I'm talking about the whole song. Like there were certain joints, like the song with 21 Savage is dope, but then he puts that chick on there, and she's talking for like a minute and a half, and it's so cringy, and it just completely ruins the it completely ruins all the goodwill from the first half. And then 21 Savage gives the same feature that he's been giving with Drake. Like it sounded like he was tired of doing songs with Drake at this point. You said give me a perfect double album. Okay, let's put it like this. If I go through the track list of Scorpion, the album is like 28 tracks long. It's 12 tracks that I enjoy. And actually, I think that's a stretch. I'd probably say there would be more like 9. Because there's probably like 9 tracks on Scorpion that I like. Like, I'd probably say the closest to a perfect double album would be Life After Death. There's really only one song out of the whole album that I just can't listen to, and it's just more of a personal preference. It's not even really like it's a bad song. I just don't want to hear Nasty Boy. Like, I just don't want to hear Biggie getting freaky like that. Not like that. That's just that was weird. But yeah, so but I think the reason why these particular albums come to like hurt a little bit more is because it feels like there's a lack of effort. Even with Scorpion, I felt like Scorpion, there was still some effort there. It was just a lot of misses, very few hits, but I felt like there was a little bit more effort put into it. Certified Lover Boy, it sounds like a bunch of old material. Honestly, never mind. It sounds so rushed that even on a technical level, from the mixing and the mastering and things like that, don't sound good. And then this album is like Drake sounds like he's on autopilot the entire time. Like 8 a.m. in Charlotte, Drew Picasso is probably going to be like one of the most underrated tracks on this album, but I feel like it's really dope. And it kind of shows like it kind of shows, where a mature Drake can come from. Because basically, Joe's criticism of it is exactly how I felt about the album when I heard it. Like, For All the Dogs sounds like a guy stuck in place. Like, he's a child star that never had to grow up because he got everything so young. He never needed to mature. He never needed to grow up. And the fact that all of his albums and all of his records still do monster numbers, like, I guess it doesn't make sense. Like Drake, I mean, it doesn't require him to develop as an artist if what you're doing is still so successful. Like my but like when I'm listening to it, I felt like a lot of what we're listening to on this album, if you transplanted it to 10 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, it sounds like the same album. Like, the perspective hasn't changed. Like, 22-year-old Drake could have wrote this album. And I think that's where it kind of becomes, like, I don't even know. Like, it feels like it wasn't even like it was bad. I was just, like, I wasn't upset at the album's quality. It was more like apathy. It was more like I was not, like I couldn't really connect to the music because I feel like I've been there and I've moved on from that. And you're still talking about something that happened. Like, it's like that friend of yours that always wants to talk about like stuff that happened in high school or stuff that happened in college. And it's the same stories over and over again that we talked about and we reminisced about, but that's really like the extent of the conversations. And then you're like, okay, cool. Like, okay, what else is going on in your life? Okay, college was however many years ago. Like, there's been a lot that's happened since then. There's a lot of things that have been going on in our lives since then. What else do you have going on? And all they could talk about is what happened in college and how they were the man in college, or how they were the man in high school. That's what it kind of feels like listening to this Drake album, if we're being completely honest. So when Joe made his criticism, and I'm not going to play it because YouTube hit me with a copyright strike the last time, or a copyright claim the last time I tried to play a Joe Budden podcast clip on here. So I'm not going to play it. But it kind of comes off like, yo, why are you hanging out with the young kids? Why are you trying so hard to connect to people that are a decade and a half younger than you at this point? Yeah, like Kendrick's album shows like, okay, this is like, you can listen to Kendrick's music and you feel like you could see the progression of what he's done. And I'm only, and I like, Pat, that you brought up Cole and Kendrick, because Cole and, like, because, there was, Drake and Cole got this song on here and they're talking about the big three. But, looking at Cole and Kendrick's trajectory and looking at Drake's trajectory, like, they don't even seem like the same type of artist. It'd be really hard to kind of compare these guys because, like, I listened to Cole's album and I know where he's at. Like, some of the Drake defenders when it comes to this, this criticism of him having to grow up is that, you want him to rap like Nas because, people were comparing, him to Nas and the maturity and stuff like that. And, try to say that he wouldn't be like the biggest artist if he wrote from that perspective. And what my rebuttal to that is that, you don't have to be Nas. Nas is not, like, Drake is not 50. He's 36, going on 37, but he's not 50. So I'm not expecting him to rap from a 50-year-old's perspective, but I want him to rap from a 36-year-old perspective. Like, and to look at Cole and Kendrick and see how successful they have been, regardless of, the points in their lives that they choose to talk about. Like, you can look at his contemporaries and he sees, you can see the blueprint of that. So you don't even have to look at somebody like Nas, who, from a different, era from him. You could look at the guys that he came up with, and you can see, like, okay, I can mature with my music and still be great. And another thing about it too is that, like I said earlier, like Drake, when he came out with So Far Gone, he was a breath of fresh air. Like, even with his earlier work before that, like, there was still a level of, like, okay, he's doing a certain style that's already exists. But he had his own lane with So Far Gone. He had his own lane once he got to that point. And it kind of sucks. Like, one of the feelings I kind of left with is that it kind of sucks that when the innovators become the imitators. That's the way I put it. Like, a guy who, got to where he was because he was original. He was something different the industry needed. Now you're, doing songs with Yeet or Sexy Red or Lil Yachty, doing what they do. Like Ebro from Hot 97, he chimed in. Everybody's chiming in on this shit. Like, he chimed in and said, what's the difference between this on, For All the Dogs, what Drake is doing, and what Jay-Z did on the Blueprint 3 when he was working with Kid Cudi, and he was working with J. Cole, and he was working with, I'm trying to think, it was some other people he named. But it basically kind of, equating it to, that. And I said the difference, when I saw it, I immediately said the difference is when Jay put them on the same song, with him, they, they were brought into his world. Like, Already Home with Kid Cudi. In all honesty, he could have replaced Kid Cudi with somebody like John Legend or something like that, and it would still be a Jay-Z song. It would sound different, but it would still be a Jay-Z song. Drake doing a song with Yeet the way he is him doing a Yeet track. He can't do that song without Yeet, or he'll come off like he bite. What Jay was doing songs where if he would have replaced somebody that was a little bit more his age and a little bit more his contemporary, it would still sound like a Jay-Z track. Hold on, Michael. I must have missed. There's a little time delay. What did people say about? Said the same thing about Tarantino. Clarify that for me, because I missed. I've said a lot, so it might have been a part that I wasn't that I didn't get the comparison. Well, yeah, it's Kanye is the same way. Like, he was a breath of fresh air when he came out. He was something different. And I talked about it on the stream last week, where they let a few outliers every once in a while, like, peek through the cracks. But somebody at Drake's level could afford to take risks. Like, honestly, of the albums that we talked about, honestly, Nevermind was the one that had the most potential to me. Oh, that he was imitating himself? Well, that's the thing. Like, Drake's not imitating himself. He is imitating what's hot. He's imitating trends. That's why he did a song with Yeet. That's why he's doing a song with Sexy Red. Like, that's why he's doing a song with Yachty. Like, he's, well, in the way that he's doing these songs. It's not even just doing a song with these artists, but it's also doing it in their style instead of doing it, bringing them on a Drake song. Instead, he's doing a Sexy Red song. He's doing a Yeet song. Like, I feel like that's the difference. It comes off a little bit like it's a desperate attempt to stay relevant. It's the, like, okay, I still need to relate to the younger kids. So I'm just gonna grab the hottest little young artist. And I'm gonna try to like, ride their wave and like see if I can still capture these young kids. And for a certain extent, it's gonna work. But when you get certain criticism where it's like, bro, you sound a little too old to be on these tracks. And like, so I like Wes Anderson films, but I can see why people think it's corny. It's not just because it's really because it's the same thing. Like, on top of, Drake doing the same thing, well, yeah, the ghostwriting allegations. Well, hold on, let me get my Wes Anderson part out. My Wes Anderson point out real quick. Because really, I actually compared Drake to M. Night Shyamalan in that he's been kind of riding the wave of three great, like how I think with M. Night Shyamalan's been riding the wave on three successful films. Unbreakable, Split, The Sixth Sense. You can maybe throw Signs in there, and then after that, it's just been like it's been garbage. But he got a lot of goodwill because of those first three great things. And that's kind of like Drake. So it's kind of funny you brought the Wes Anderson comparison, because I actually kind of the same. I had a thought, but it was with M. Night Shyamalan. But so like when Joe had the criticism to Drake, about the album, listening to it, it felt the same. I felt the same way. So for Drake, hold on, let's pull this up real quick. So for Drake to have this response, right? Now it's long as shit, and we've been talking for a minute now. But basically telling him he failed in music. I thought that was pretty corny, if we being honest. Like, people jumped on it. They thought it was funny. But first of all, if this man is as irrelevant as you're trying to make him out to be in this post, you wouldn't have taken the time out to address him like this. And maybe Drake is just kind of fed up with all the criticism and stuff like that. He's fed up with everybody having something to say. But if we're being honest, I felt like this really touched a nerve because it had some truth in it. It had a lot of truth in it, and it was a reality that he wasn't really willing to face. But at the same time, I also think, like, pretending that you don't know who this man is, and you're pretending that he's just that much of a failure to hate on your success. I feel like deep down Drake is in a weird place, and it was like Michael brought up, the ghostwriter allegations. From if you're reading this, it's too late. One of the things that I think really bothers Drake is the fact that, because I think he really wanted to have Jay-Z's type of notoriety. Like, Jay-Z is a guy that was known for making like the hits. Like, known for making the hits. But also had all this respect from, like now, like people still refer to Jay as the GOAT, like as the greatest of all time. And I think like Drake wanted Jay-Z's like type of spot where he could be revered as this lyricist, as this top tier rapper, and also be this hit making machine. I think he wanted both. and the ghostwriting allegations really hurt him. Like, he was on fire in 2015. So even those allegations that would normally ruin somebody else's career had virtually no effect on him. And I think also because of who was bringing it up, and because, the beef had people so excited, it was distracted. It was distracting from the ghostwriter allegations. But deep down, because Drake has always been a rapper's rapper, that's why he would come at somebody like Joe Budden, or he would come at somebody like Fantano that criticizes his music, and will have such a vitriol response to them, because Joe is a rapper's rapper, and like, whether people want to admit it or not, his opinion is very respected in like amongst certain circles. Like, the casuals may have a lot to say about Joe when it comes to the pump it up, and they joke about this shit like that, but the rappers know. The people that are fans of rap for real, and rappers that still look towards a subsection of veterans for approval, like, they all know, like, Joe's pen, regardless of how you may feel about him personally, Joe's pen is not to be fucked with. Not to be fucked with by most rappers. So that's why Drake, it touched the nerve the way it did, because somebody of Joe's caliber criticizing him after he's been fighting so hard to get respect. Like I said, Drake's in a weird place because he's trying to serve two masters at this point. He's trying to satisfy the mainstream hip hop or the mainstream music fans. He's trying to be the big pop artist. Like, he's got this song on For All the Dogs with Bad Bunny, and it's not for me. I can't even tell you if it's good or not because it's not for me. Like, it's all in Spanish. I don't know Spanish. I'm not a bad. I don't listen to Bad Bunny because I don't speak Spanish, and I'm not really in tune with the reggae. I mean the Latin wave that's going on right now. So I can't even tell you if that's a good song, but it does come off like it's a checklist. That's a big part of why these Drake albums feel the way they feel now, because it does feel like they are, like obligations at this point. We need this type of song. We need this trap song. Or I need a 21 Savage feature. I need Bad Bunny's the hottest thing out right now. I need a song with Bad Bunny. I need a song with Sexy Red because she's popping right now. And it's not to make a cohesive, digestible body of work that people can respect. It's more to appeal to as many people as you can right now. And it's really hard to do that and do an album that is respected by rappers and rap fans, like real rap fans. And I think that's where a lot of this comes from. The reason why this kind of touched the nerve, because people was trying to say that Joe was a failure in music. People are, talking about his, his musical career and things like that. And, people that don't really know, they throw those like same old tired, arguments and things like that. But, this part right here, when he's talking about the 450 men showing up at, to your shows in dusty and Nietzsche jeans to screw up their face to Mood Music 29. I think it's I don't know. Like, I'm going to pose the question to y'all. Would you rather be in a situation where it's 400 men in dusty and Nietzsche jeans showing up, or is it more pathetic to try to appeal to people 2 decades younger than you? Like, you feel like, dude, you rather be surrounded by people that are more like you even if there may not be the most desirable demographic? Or would you rather be trying to hang out with the college crowd and you're pushing 40? I don't it sounds funny, but when you really sit down and think about it, it doesn't come off as that big of a dig when the criticism is you too old to be rapping about being hung up on a 25-year-old and a 22-year-old. I also want to bring this up too, and I think I'm gonna end it because my son is wilding right now. Um, so I'm gonna bring this up because I'm gonna leave y'all with this question real quick. My Sean, and he's a big, he's a big, like he's a very vocal, rap critic, like Budden is, and he posed this question right here. Real question. Why are lyricists like Drake and Cole doing music with Lil Yachty? I'm confused. Are they co-signing him? Is he supposed to be like this generation's like lyricist or star? And then he said something. What was I about to do? What was I about to highlight? Ah, man, I lost it. Oh yeah. It was early. But there was just a lyricist code. You didn't do music with artists who didn't challenge us. And I thought that was pretty interesting because people have been very high on has been very high on Cole's verse on Lil Yachty's record. I think it's called The Secret Recipe. But you don't really, and like people always talk about Cole's verses and how like monumental they are, like the feature run he's been on. But when you look at the list of rappers that he does features with, you never really see him with elite lyricists. Well, yeah. Cole is gonna do what Cole is gonna do, but Cole's gonna do what Cole's gonna do. But what I'm saying is, why isn't Cole bringing those talents to elite rappers? And I'm not trying to diss Cole or anything like that because I still love what he's doing, but it does kind of make you question stuff like that. Like why? And that's one of the things that I like. One of my favorite albums this year is Mick Jenkins' The Patience. I'm still listening to that album, and it came out back in August. And it's been like in the streaming era, there's very few albums that keep my attention like that now. But the new Mick Jenkins album is still in heavy rotation. And one of the things about that album that I really respect is that tracks 2 and 3 back to back, he is on there with two very highly regarded lyricists like of the current crop that's still like really active, like Freddie Gibbs and Benny the Butcher. He's on like back to back tracks. He got both of them on the album, and in my opinion, smoked both of them on records just because he knew he could, or I don't know if he knew he could, but just he stepped up to the plate and took that challenge. Like I kind of want to see Cole doing songs with cats like that, like try and maybe not necessarily those guys, but just I would really like to see Cole spitting with the best. Like if he's talking all this shit on these records about how these people ain't seeing him, why don't you get on a song with somebody that might actually pose a threat to you? Because out rapping Lil Yachty on a record ain't hard at all. Out rapping Lil Yachty on wax ain't hard. So when my son said that, like it kind of it did kind of like perk my ears up a little bit, because I had to really think about it. When has Cole oh, you know what, Pat, you right. he did do the track with Royce. Like Royce was, I had to go back and listen to that one. Like Cole's verse was dope. I don't know. I think Royce got him on that though. I'd have to go back and check, but I think Royce got him on that one. I remember hearing that song thinking like Cole. I mean, it's not like Cole got completely smoked or anything like that. But I'd have to go back. I'm gonna get back to you on that one because I have a funny feeling when I go back to listen to that song, Royce might have got Cole on that. I think I remember feeling that way when I first heard the track, but it's been a while, so I'm gonna have to go back and check it. The Nick Grant album is dope. It's pretty long. It's pretty long too, so I only listen to it when I'm in the car. The Mick Jenkins album is pretty short. I think it's only like 10 tracks, and most of them are like he got a few on there that's only like a minute and a half, barely 2 minutes. So I could just pop that in and just be, cleaning up around the house and it hit. But I think that's it. I think that's it. Like I said, my son is popping up, and me and my wife are both trying to get stuff done. And it's really throwing off my focus. I didn't go front. I think I got most of my points out, but we'll see when I try to edit this shit down to make it a little more cohesive. I may do a stream next week. I'm not 100% sure. I'm still trying to get this tier list popping that I posted about like last week. And so I just need people to participate and let me know. Like the prompt is the worst albums from the best rappers. Like, for example, I think Jay-Z's worst album is Magna Carta Holy Grail. Like, and I think he's one of the best ever. But you can't lie. I can't lie to you and tell you that that's a great album. So just like that, just examples like that, and we just do the tier list, like who's got the worst album out of the bunch or whatever. So if you down with that, please leave a comment under that post on at the 1430 podcast. I'm probably gonna get off the stream and think about all this other shit that I want to talk about because I had so many thoughts, but I'm gonna just kind of leave it at that. But until next time, it's your boy Vinny Dangerous. Much love.